What's up, guys? Well, we just got episode 4 of Chucky titled Just Let Go, and this one pretty much dealt with the aftermath of everything that we saw in episode 3. The big inferno at Lexy's house, Chucky revealing himself to Lexy, Jake kind of going back on whether or not he wanted to kill Lexy and kind of questioning his relationship with Chucky. And I gotta be honest, just like episode 3, I was a little bit mixed on this episode. One thing that I loved, pretty much the entire episode takes place in a hospital, and as you guys have seen me talk about before in the likes of Halloween 2 and Dream Warriors and even Cult of Chucky to a certain extent, I really enjoy the aesthetic of a horror film or a horror show set in a hospital. Hospitals or doctor's offices, anything medical like that really unnerves me. I know it's a place you're supposed to go to get healed. It's supposed to be this happy place, but for some reason, I never feel happy when I go to a doctor or to a hospital. So when you add in the horror vibes, when you add in a horror direction, when you put a horror character or slasher elements in a hospital setting, I think it works very well. I think it feels at home. So most of this episode taking place in a hospital, I thought was a really cool setting to have this story take place. And I like the way that they filmed this hospital too. It had a very like neon blue look to it, the way that they did the colorization, the way that they did the lighting. It was a very different look than what they gave us in Cult of Chucky. Cult of Chucky was very white and sterile and clean, and this one just felt a little bit darker. It felt a little bit meaner. And the way that the blue colors just kind of went off of the walls during all these little dialogue sessions between characters, it just made you feel like there was some kind of a foreboding sense of dread coming for them. I liked how in the second half of the episode we got to see Chucky after this inferno and half of his face and body was melted down. He almost looked like the Toxic Avenger. I thought that was a cool new look to give Chucky, because we've seen Chucky burnt before, we've seen Chucky cut up before. There's always different designs that they give him for various degrees of damage that he undergoes during a story, so that was something new and cool to see. And I also like the fact that it reinforces that there is going to be other Chucky dolls out there, because there was little sequences where you saw like Junior passing out right before his surgery, and he saw a Chucky doll go before his door a couple of times before that melted Chucky was even there. So that tells you that there is multiple Chuckies not only in this TV show, but they are going to be incorporating that element that they introduced in Cult into this storyline at some point, and that feels like something that's coming to a head very soon. So I thought it was neat. I thought it was a nice little extra antagonist element to give Chucky, the fact that no matter what they do to this doll, there's still more coming, there's still more out there, and I think that's going to play into the story that we eventually get whenever Alex Vincent and Christine McCarthy shows up, Andy and Kyle, for those of you that aren't as big Chucky fans as me, that they're probably hunting down all of these dolls, and this is just the next one. I also really liked the argument between parents in the hospital waiting room, where you got Devon Sawa and the chick from Jason X, and then you got the two douchebag parents that just got enlightened in the last episode of how much of a bitch their daughter is. I like that whole exchange between them, because not only was it cool to see Devon Sawa get to kind of unhinge a little bit, because he's very much playing the more straight-laced brother so far in these 3 episodes, being that the other one was taken out halfway through episode 1, but now he actually gets to show some anger, and when he was getting in their ass and was accusing of all this stuff and almost was talking shit to the dad, as soon as he spoke up, he's like, oh, look who decided to join. Like, all of that interaction and back and forth I really enjoyed. And I also liked how it's kind of showing that Chucky is almost like poisoning this these group of characters in various ways, to where he's literally killing some of them. He's putting the fear of death into some of them that know that he's alive, and then everybody else, he's just kind of fucking up their life little by little, to where these parents now doubt their daughter, and now they think that their daughter set fire to their house and caused the death of this kid. And then you got Devon Sawa and Rowan over here, who are like, yeah, fuck all of you, you're all a bunch of douchebag parents, and we're in the right. And then that's going to cause a little bit of a clash eventually between him and Junior, which they hinted at here, where he really wants to put all of his athletic dreams onto the shoulders of his kid, and Junior almost was relieved finding out that his lung damage from this fire, now he can't participate in sports for a while. So I like all the little side elements that are going on that are probably going to come to a head at some point in this season, that aren't directly because of Chucky, but just little trickle effects of his carnage going into all these people's lives. Now, the element that I didn't really care for in this episode, which to be honest, I was the most worried about. I mean, if you saw my thoughts on episode 3 and you saw where I figured things were going to be heading, they pretty much went that direction here to where Lexy is alive, unscathed from this attempted murder in episode 3, and she almost immediately teams up with Jake. And I just don't quite buy that. Like, they have this whole conversation to where Jake shows up and she's like, you know, my house is ablaze and my sister's over here in ICU and somebody's dead, and Jake more or less lets her know, like, yeah, I know, Chucky's alive, and I literally just gave him to your house to do all of this. And from that point, as much as I despise Lexy as a character, and that has not changed yet, and they have a hell of a journey if they're ever going to change that for me, I don't believe for a second that even if Jake is the only other person on planet Earth that knows that Chucky is alive, that she would team up with him after finding that out. Like, finding out this kid that she thinks is a whack job, that she thinks is this freak of society, gave her a killer animatronic doll to murder her and ended up almost killing her sister and all of her friends and her boyfriend. I don't buy that they would hook up together. So them teaming up for the rest of this episode and almost becoming friends by the end of it, I'm not on that train yet. I don't know. Hopefully, since obviously this is the trajectory we're on for the rest of the show, that they do some things to make me buy into it a little bit more. But what they did in this episode, I just didn't quite get there. Even to the point where you get this pretty cool scene for the way that it was shot and the setting of this burned house, to where he's getting into Lexy about the way that she treats people, and he's like, yeah, I wanted to fucking kill you because you deserve it, because you treat people like garbage. And she falls off of this railing and he catches her, and it's this big moment where Chucky reveals himself and he's like, hey, it's so easy, just let her go. It's the easiest thing in the world, Jake. And it's supposed to be this huge dramatic moment like the Lion King, where Scar's got Mufasa, and then you gotta decide whether or not I'm gonna be a killer or I'm gonna save this girl and decide to be a, no pun intended, good guy. And when they show how close to the ground Lexy's feet are, to where Chucky can literally walk up and almost stab her, I'm like, if she falls, she's gonna land on her fucking feet. I know what they were trying to go for in that scene, and if they had shot it from a different angle or did something to make that gap look a lot higher than it actually was, I wouldn't have had a problem with it whatsoever. I would have got it, be like, okay, that's a good character moment for Jake, and that's something that can bring them together. But I ended up just laughing because Chucky's literally like 2 feet tall and he's slashing at her with an extra half of a foot length with his arm. It's like, there, she's saved. Now, the sequence that was very weird for me, and I think it was intentionally weird to go along with Chucky's one-liner, which admittedly did save this for me, was where you have this random, I'm guessing he was a cop or some kind of an investigator, that shows up at the burnt house right after Jake saves Lexy, and Chucky sits down and does his little good guy thing. And he's like, hey kids, you can't be in here. It's a crime scene, you gotta get out of here. And then he looks down and he's like, oh yeah, your dad sent me to come get this doll. And then he just leaves without even like checking up on them. And then the next scene, they're in the back of his car and he goes inside of the hospital with this burnt ass doll that's obviously toxic as fuck and should just have been thrown away, to go take it to this girl, and leaves the living, breathing children in the back of his car locked up. Gets all the way up into this room and then just does this weird sequence where you have this girl who's potentially dying on this bed, and he's just going and he's opening up all the snacks in her room and just trying them one by one, taking a bite out of it, sticking it back in the box, taking a bite of a cookie, throwing it down, going to eat some brownies. And I was like, what the fuck are they going for with this guy? This is so weird. And luckily they saved it with Chucky killing him and giving the one-liner. He's like, dude, he's like, from the moment I saw you, I just wanted to fucking kill you. Something about your face. And I was like, yes, the audience agrees, Chucky. The audience agrees. Stab away. And the final scene was great too, where the carnage has been found and the girl at the ICU, the daughter, the younger sister, is getting CPR, and they're putting all of her tubes back in, and everybody's looking shocked, and they look at Chucky and he's just like, like, that was just a great Chucky moment. Now talking about the flashback, because I almost forgot to mention that. So we're getting a little bit farther into the pre-Chucky Charles Lee Ray life, and now he's like a teenager, and it showed that eventually he ended up into this boy's home, and he was doing this Peter Pan and the Lost Boys thing, to where all of these kids in this boys' home were very clearly looking up to Charles, but he was very clearly not a very good influence for him. Like, one of them started cussing, they're like, "Where'd you learn that?" And they kind of wink at each other. And eventually this janitor starts fucking with Chucky a little bit. And so, obviously we know where that's going, to where he's going to end up killing this janitor, and he leads the boys through the woods like, "Come on, men, we got to find Captain Hook," which was kind of a funny, like, little quirky scene, and gets all the way up to this dead body, and 2 of the kids run for their lives, and one of them sticks around. And I thought it was a really cool little tidbit of information that after all is said and done, it's revealed that that kid is Eddie Caputo. That the one kid that looks up to Charles Lee Ray is his partner in crime in the first film that he eventually blows up with that gas oven. So again, a lot of really cool nods that we get throughout this series that, you know, it pays to have Don Mancini at the head of this, because he's been at the head of the show, or the series, the entire time. So it's almost second nature for him to reference his previous writing, because he's been here through all of it. So I like that. As a fan, even if some of it can be a little bit on the nose, like this Eddie Caputo reveal, it's still fun for a fan to get little tidbits of information, or, you know, do that Leo DiCaprio thing where they say Eddie Caputo and you're like, "Huh," and you just point at the screen like, I know that, I'm a fan, I know that one. So overall, this episode, like I said, I enjoyed it. I was a little bit more mixed on this one than I was the first 2 episodes, just because of that Lexy and Jake thing. And, you know, if in an episode, or hopefully not 2 or 3 of them, but if very soon I get brought onto the camp that supports them being friends, and it makes a little bit more sense, and it feels a little bit more organic, retroactively, this episode will be much better for me. But as of right now, without knowing where things are going to go in the next 4 episodes, that Lexy-Jake team-up thing is just bugging me a little bit. But everything else in this episode, I enjoyed quite a bit. So, what do you guys think about episode 4, Just Let Go? Is this your favorite episode of the series so far? Are you a little mixed on this one? Did you not like this episode at all? And where do you think things are heading in episode 5 onward? Let me know down in the comment section below, guys, and we will talk about it. Please like and share this video, and if you're a fan of this show or a fan of Child's Play material, please hit the subscribe button. I've done a ton of stuff in the past, rankings, I've ranked his kills, I've ranked the dolls, I've ranked all the movies a couple different times, and I'm covering every single episode in the show, as you have seen, and tomorrow we're going to be having another live spoiler talk on episode 4, and I got a couple of really awesome guests that are going to be joining me for that one. So please hit the subscribe button so you do not miss any of that. Thank you guys for watching as always, and remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.